am here today with Mr. Ashish Naredi.
I don't sound bombastic, then I would say that consciously those words get ingrained in one parent shared a
So, friends, I am here today with Mr. Ashish Naredi, the founder of Indic International School. As the name suggests, it's a values-based, values-focused institution. So, I want to have a chat with him as to what this values-based education means to him and why values-based education is such a fundamental necessity in the modern context.
See, for me, I have a basic problem with the very words values based education. Because if you look at it from our perspective or from an Indic perspective, education is values. And that is the real education, not geography, science, and all that we are doing.
Yeah.
That's only information or some theoretical concept that we're giving to the students. That's not education. So I wouldn't look at values based education. I would look at values as the core of education around which your various other subjects will evolve and revolve. But sadly, because of all the changes in history and the dynamics of history, this model has got upended, reversed, and we go with whatever is, if I could say, a fancy word used by everybody in the education sector, values-based education, and that's why we go ahead with it. So that's my honest and frank view
Excellent.
on values-based education.
Excellent. I think that's the true sense of the values, and I'm sure they're more universal. Or
Yeah,
would they be more focused on the Indian context?
yeah.
The
See, if you look at it, one thing that we've got to understand, and the reason why we've called our school the Indic school for that matter. So if you look at how the Western civilization has evolved and how Indian civilization has evolved, then they have a very different trajectory. Let me elaborate, take a minute or two and elaborate it here. When you look at the Western civilization, they say that man was uncivilized, was a barbarian, and only now is moving towards civilization. Whereas if you contrast it with the Indian trajectory, then we begin with Satyug, then Treta, then Dwapar, and Kalyug. And we say that we were all up there, very refined, very civilized, and we are on our way down. And the Western trajectory says we were somewhere down in the pits, we are rising up. Somewhere the twain shall meet. But where the twain is meeting, the civilization which is coming from an upward trajectory has forgotten the memories of that higher pedestal and picking up everything from a civilization which is coming from the pits, leaving its own conceptions, leaving its own values. So we often get asked this question, why Indian values? Because they are Indian? Yes, because they are Indian, but that's not the primary reason. The primary reason is that we believe it is more suitable for our environs. And if I don't sound bombastic, then I would say they seem better. Okay, now, let me give a small instance. If we look at the definition of education itself, all the fancy terms that we keep getting in the educational theory, the modern educational theory, if I could call it, 21st century skills, value based education, and all that, they're coming from a perspective of their trajectory where they are improving as a civilization, right? And for them, the be all and end all of education, they say we want to be successful. Now, how do we define success as? Success is again defined in terms of good job, a good startup, or a good career in sports and music. That's it. But that's not how we define education as. For us, education is a means of self realization. It's a means of liberation, which is why we give the motto of our school as Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye. So, not that we are trying to make a statement of superiority versus inferiority, but we should look at what is more conducive. If you're already at a certain level in civilization, and if this is more conducive to your civilization, then why let go of it? Let me give one just one last example. We teach in our schools sense organs. All modern education says how many sense organs? Five. You'll pick up any Indian text, it will tell you six sense organs. Mind is the sixth sense organ. Okay, and then there are given ways and means of improving the sixth organ faculty. That this is how you can improve your focus, this is how you can improve your concentration, your intuition. But if there is a civilization which says there are only five, why does a civilization which already has mastery of six let go of the sixth one? That's a basic problem with the grand philosophy of education that we are following. And our school is but just an attempt to see the extent to which we can incorporate that and correct that.
Great. How do you go about instilling these values in the students?
One thing is we've got to fulfill the curriculum requirements of CBSE, so that's a given. But the reason why, again, we've opted for CBSE is that we get a lot of flexibility till grade 8 to experiment, and which is where we add in different subjects of our liking and which we think are critical. So, in our school, you have Sanskrit compulsory. Now, if we are talking about values, we are anyway talking about culture, civilization. If we are talking about Sanskriti, then it flows from Sanskrit. That's why we thought Sanskrit is a non-negotiable. So from LKG to grade 8, we have Sanskrit as a compulsory subject. That's one. Second, like I was talking about the sixth organ, the faculty of mind, it's important to focus on that, and which is where we introduce compulsory meditation for all. So from grade 5 and upwards, all our students, staff, right from our security guard to the housekeeping staff, all of us sat in a meditation camp of Anapanasati. It's a form of meditation which is taught by the Vipassana practitioners. All of us sat for that, learnt that, and every day in school, about 5 to 10 minutes of time in the morning is devoted towards meditation.
Wonderful.
About 10 minutes for the higher grades. In the lower grades, we can't teach them much on this,
Yes.
so we just ask them to maintain silence for 5 minutes. Now, that itself is a big task for them. So, Sanskrit, meditation, and then the third part, if we look at how the values were incorporated or instilled in India in the early days, then it was through all the stories or the kathayan that we call. So that's again an intrinsic part of our school. So these are just some two or three ways in which we try and instill these values in the school. There's a fourth way in which I take a few workshops for all the students, mostly of the higher grades, trying to bring in the Indic perspective into education. Whatever curriculum or the content is covered in the board, trying to give the Indian origins of that and see how it's contrasted. We do that in math, we do that in science, we do that in history, and a whole lot of other areas.
Fantastic. Now, how do you tackle the challenge of overexposure to social media? This is something that is maybe a great
Yeah,
challenge, but
yeah, yeah.
how do you
See, there are no easy answers to that, and I'm sure as a very experienced educationist yourself, you would be trying different approaches. One thing what we are trying to do is that it absolutely does not work to tell them don't look at it, it's not good, not harmful. They literally enjoy seeing all the reels, and which is why they're sticking to it. So what we thought we can better do is that you provide them some good content which is in line with your school values and which might be helpful to the students. So let me give you a few instances. So we were doing a communications workshop, and in a communications workshop, uh, different languages, English, Hindi, and Telugu. What's the easiest way to pick up a language? You look at a toddler. How does he or she pick up their mother tongue? Just by listening. So the framework for picking up any language or improving your skills is to LSRW, as they say: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But you look at what we do in schools. We've inverted the pyramid. We first start with writing. So, as a means of listening to good language, if you're speaking English, then listening to good English is important. Hindi, similarly, listening to good Hindi, Telugu, good Telugu. So, we've made a list of certain podcasts, let's say in Hindi, in English, which are informative. And in fact, we made a list of some films also. I said, you watch an English film. In fact, in one of the workshops, I took the students through a film called The Truman Show. Of course, it was again in a different context. But you start listening to it, and subconsciously, those words get ingrained into you, and you start repeating them. So we did that with Hindi as well. In the Hindi workshop, we picked up one or two popular songs. I'm sure you would have heard. One is "आरंभ है प्रचंड बोले मस्तकों के झुंड आज जंग की घड़ी को तुम गुहार दो." So with music and the entire class singing it together, getting them hooked on to poetry, stuff like that. So we've given out a list of this. Okay, if you're on social media, you can tell your parents, this is what my school has given me a homework of watching this. Similarly, one series which I would highly like to recommend for everybody, especially in schools, is one which was started by Chinmaya Mission called Upanishad Ganga.
Mhm.
Not only for the language, but also for the information that it gives about Upanishad and the strong sense of values that it induces in kids. A brilliant, brilliant series. So that's right now been made a part of our Hindi curriculum in the school, where in the week, a teacher picks up one of the values from Upanishad Ganga, shows that to the students, and then we discuss. Uh, did you understand the meaning of this word? Say, chakshu se ashru jal behne laga. That's very high class Hindi. It simply means that you're crying. Chakshu is eye, ashru jal is tears. So they pick up new vocabulary at the same time through different stories which are narrated in Upanishads. They pick up the values as well. So you cannot wean them away by telling it's not good. If they're going to watch it, then at least let's try and wean their habits away to the content that we would like them to watch. So that's one effort that we are making. We've just started, so we've got to still wait and watch for the results. But the initial feedback from the students, they're loving it, and from the parents that we got, sir, our child was watching this serial. He came and asked me, what is Yaksha Prashna? Even I didn't know anything, but Upanishad Ganga was answering that. So we're getting initial feedback is pretty positive. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, very nice to hear that. And so much knowledge and passion packed into one being. Now, as the founder
Yeah,
with this
yeah,
vision,
yeah.
how does it percolate down, especially to the teachers?
Yes.
How does this happen?
See, that's the most critical challenge that we face, because it's all good to be sitting here and telling that this is our vision and this is what we will incorporate in the school. But without the teachers imbibing all of this, it's going to be really difficult. So we work on this in two ways. One is some things like I said, Sanskrit meditation, which have been intrinsically made a part of the curriculum. So they will have their own effect. But in the long run, uh, teachers training, and if I could say, giving all this information and molding them into what the school wants them to do, it's a long term process. And I do that myself. I've made several modules on which I keep taking sessions for the teachers. We keep coming out with our own videos, and not that we've figured it out all. It's a pathway, but what we are trying to do is continuously working on it, and we can see the positive effects. We still have to do a lot more. That's an ongoing effort from our side, especially on my side. And now we have a director and principal in the school. The daily operations of the school are taken care of by them. And my main focus is this: how do we bring the ethos of the school? And if I need to bring the ethos of the school in sync with this, then how do I get my staff and my teachers in sync with this? So, my workshops and my training programs, and the help of external faculty that we keep on bringing for that, whoever can cover a specific topic. That's an ongoing program in the school. I think perhaps in a year or two more, we would have walked a substantial distance, covered a substantial distance, and then I think these effects will start to speak a little more louder. Now that the journey will end, but that we would have moved certain substantial distance on that path.
Great. It's always said that parents are the first teachers,
Absolutely.
and the teachers are should be like parents in the
Yeah,
school.
yeah, yeah.
How do you deal with the situation? How are your parents in sync with what you're doing? Is that a challenge, or do you find progress in what you're trying to
See,
do?
it's a big challenge, and this is not just after starting school, but prior to this, I was a part of the Parents Association, where too I used to see this. What I see is that you know a lot of the parents that we see nowadays, we've all come up the rough way and the tough way in life, a lot of us. And now that we're seeing some prosperity, the way we are trying to handle our children is by giving them every comfort and luxury. What even they don't ask, we would want to have them already given to them. And I don't think that's the right way of parenting. They need to have not a tough life, but you don't need to fill them with all the comforts and luxury. Let me give you one instance. For school dispersal, first it's always the own school transport which goes, and then uh, the own transport students who go by own transport they go. So there's a 10-15 minute gap, and while the buses went, the students used to stand in a queue in the school for about 10-15 minutes. One day we had a parent barging into the principal's office and telling, "What is it? You're making my daughter stand there for 10-15 minutes." The principal said, "Sir, please take a seat." He said, "No, no, how do you expect me to sit when my daughter is standing there for 10 minutes? I said, "For getting your daughter to stand for 10 minutes, is that a task? I would get them to stand for half an hour." But that's how the parents have become. And the other trend that I see is that now that we've admitted our child in a school and then we are paying you so much fees, that's a big factor. Entire responsibility is yours. Don't come back to us for anything. Even if we tell them as much as spend some time with the children on their homework, or your child is not very clear with this concept, if the mother or the father, mostly the mother, if you can spend some time, so no, I'm busy, I'm working. We understand that both are working. And that's another problem that we are having, especially with the nuclear family setup that we are having right now. Both parents are working. Who brings up the children? It's the maids who you have in the house. Or if the maid is not there, then it's the social media which is bringing up your children. And which is where lies the problem, which is what both the schools and the parents have to understand, that you are leaving your children to be brought up by all kinds of nonsense in social media. And we do make our efforts. We have parenting workshops for them, but how many of them would even be interested in listening to a boring lecture in a school on a working day or on a holiday? So when we had the workshop, I think last time out of about 300 parents, about 70 came, and I was like, okay, still at least 70 of them came, so that's a good number. But it's an ongoing challenge, and I believe that it's only going to get worse because both the parents, due to requirements of life, lifestyle, uh, you are going to have more number of parents work that way, and the bringing up of our children is going to suffer. In a joint family setup, perhaps this still we find it in many communities. It will still be better where grandparents and others are there to take care of them, and we can see a marked difference when they're there, how they're connected and attached to their grandparents. So it's a problem which does not have an easy solution.
But does that also pose problems with vis-a-vis the enrollments into the school? Because at the end of the day, you have to make both ends meet.
Enrollments in the sense.
Admissions.
Admissions, but why would they be affected by the?
I mean, the parents going back and telling the other parents that we like this school, would you like your child to
Oh,
get
I
into
I
this?
think it's not something related to one specific school. If you ask me, at least the way I understand it right now, these are problems which are school wide, and of course there are some schools who are trying a bit more in terms of trying to correct this. Let's say now we are there, now we are holding parents' workshops as well. And in fact, our director, her workshop was so appreciated by the parents that the first set of parents would come. She covered different styles of parenting. One is a helicopter parent, one is a overprotective parent, and what is the right way to bring up your kids. On that demand, we had to hold another workshop. So, of course, like you said, when somebody takes that little extra step, we do get benefited in enrollments as well. So, thanks to perhaps some of the initiatives like we've taken, our word of mouth goes well, and it's being appreciated by the parents. And thankfully, we've not had any issues as far as enrollments are concerned. But yeah, perhaps others would be having that.
Well, I think that's good. As long as your parents with that
Yeah.
positive outlook, it's good. But invariably, most of the parents, the majority of the
Hmm.
parents,
Hmm.
are obsessed with marks
Oh
and
yeah,
grades and all
that's
that. How do you deal with that? And how
that's
do
a big
you
challenge.
measure the
That's
progress that they're making
that's
in
a big
terms of the
challenge. So
values?
now you look at our school. Now we're doing Sanskrit, we're doing meditation. We are doing, like I said, values through Indic ethos through Indian ethics. That's a program that we've started. So under which different stories of Ramayana and others are taught to the children, and then after that the children have a discussion. For instance, a Valmiki story, and then they cover how a person progressed from a bandit to a Maharishi. What made him cover that journey? These are the qualities, and if Valmiki can do it, so can you. Okay, so that's the way that program works, and several other extracurricular activities, sports, and all. For us, it's a challenge. How do we cover it in these periods? And for which sometimes you have to fit it all. You have 8 to 9 periods. You have to do all this in those 8 to 9 periods, right? And which is when the parents will come, no, sir, but we want science marks, we want mathematics marks. And that's a constant challenge. What we are doing from our side is, one, at a time of admissions, we are very clear in terms of what the school stands for. We would be covering all this. And in fact, I also keep asking the parents, you're working, you're doing this job, you're meeting so many people. How many of them ask you how many marks you got in 7th standard? Forget 7th. How many of them ask you how many marks you got in 10th standard? So marks are important. And we understand that. We will focus a lot more on academics from grade 9 and 10. But till 8th, let us do what we're doing. And that's a constant back and forth from our side. Sometimes we do have some parents who say, no, I want this to be covered, that to be covered. We say, this is what we stand for, this is what we do. We've had one or two instances, one or two parents chose, no, sir, I would like to move on. I say, perhaps you can do that. But that was in the initial first year. But I think over after about second, this is now our third year. Now the parents have that lot more confidence that whatever time is being taken here is being well spent, and so many of them keep sharing the videos. For instance, the other day, uh, one parent shared a video of his birthday where the children were singing the birthday song in Sanskrit. Shubha Janma Dinam Tubhyam. That's how it goes. The same tune, but the lyrics in Sanskrit. He said, I didn't know, I don't know how my children picked it up, but I was so happy to listen to that. So now that 2 years are over, the parents are beginning to see that value, and it's making our task easier. But I'm sure that back and forth and struggle between the marks and holistic education is going to continue. Our strategy would be to keep communicating, keep talking to the parents,
Yeah.
and over a period of time, I'm sure they'll see value in it.
Have you worked out a way of measuring or assessing and measuring the progress
Mhm.
that the students are making in terms of the values and trying to convince the parents that this is the actual progress that the
So
children need to
that's
make?
a fantastic question you've asked. And, uh, frankly, I do ponder on it a lot, but I do not get a proper answer. In fact, I sometimes think, should we actually measure? Because the moment you start measuring, then you start cutting a lot of corners. For instance, let me give you my daughter's instance. I for always believe she's got great leadership potential. But how do I measure leadership? And I hope she'll forgive me. She's not very good at accounts. And my mom, her mom, my wife, she always, between my daughter and my wife, they always had this struggle. Marks. And I was like, you don't even bother about her marks. Her strength is not accounts. Her strength is the confidence. Her strength is the personality that she has, the leadership quality that she has. They said, how do you see leadership? I said, you see, luckily for her, when she came to grade 12 in her school, she got elected the school pupil leader of the head girl of her school. And the speech that she gave, that the teachers sent that speech back to me and they said, sir, what a star we have in our school. And that's when my wife got satisfied that yes, it's there. But if I look at her now, how would I measure? I think about that also a lot. But other than my feeling of intuition and gut feel, something which is coming through experience that this person is a great leader, beyond that, I could not progress. How do I list it out? One of the things that I could list out is, okay, this good speaker, good public speaker, they can carry the team well. But even other than public speaking, if I am to mark on that they can carry a team well, how do I give them a mark on this? So I don't have any answers for that.
Okay.
And if you do have, and if there are some thoughts, I'm sure a lot of people would have spent time on it. I would be more than happy to read up, get trained, and see how we can measure that up. But in my present frame of knowledge, I don't see very many tools in terms of uh, being able to observe and measure it. Of course, there will be anecdotal evidences aplenty when some you leave them in their everyday life, how they are interacting with others, how they are mingling with others. There you will get a lot of anecdotal evidence, but in terms of being able to capture it all, let's say on a mark sheet, I don't know. I do not have a way of doing that.
I think that's quite a challenge, and I think almost everywhere it's still work in
Yeah,
progress. The holistic progress card recommended
yeah,
by the government. I don't know if you've started working on that.
yeah.
It could be of some help.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But see, we have that. In fact, if you look at the card that we have, especially for our primary children, it measures about 60 to 70 different metrics. How easily do they mingle with others? Uh, how self-disciplined they are? Do they have their food on their own? Different metrics. But in terms of being able to link it with the education values that we are providing and being able to measure, if you, let's say, honesty, how do I measure someone's honesty, integrity?
I think maybe we need to go back to our own culture, our own
Yeah,
tradition. In the olden days, when they used to go through this Gurukul, and
yeah,
when were they considered to be, ready to go out into
correct.
the
Yeah, yeah,
world?
yeah, yeah.
On that count, I mean, have you had any of the board-going students going out? And do you have any alumni now?
No, see, we are a young school. It's we are only into our third year. So yes, that can be a good test. Once your alumni move out and 5 to 10 years down the line, what are they doing? I would measure not as much in terms of where they've reached, let's say, in their professions, but in terms of the kind of people that we send out. What is important to them? How is their behavior? And even in terms of success, how doggedly they are pursuing the goals of their life. So when we discuss about values and life goals, uh, student asked me, "Sir, what's your life goal?" I said, for me, the goal of my life is to find out the goal of my life. And that's where the journey begins.
Yes.
So I don't know if this school is my final destination and my final goal, but I'm very sure that this is a definite significant milestone in my lifetime. And for all the different businesses that I've done, this has to be one, and which is where a whole lot of things in my life, passion, education starts converging over here. But yeah, in terms of once we send students out into the society and how they interact with the larger society, how they perform, that can be a good yardstick.
Well, Thank you very much.
My
Great
pleasure.
meeting you.
Very insightful conversation. Thank you
All the
so
very
much.
best for your endeavor.
Thank you so much.